Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the cross-counter training Gfinity Series, brought to you by the great folks over at Gfinity. Now, there's a 99.9% chance that you have never seen or heard of me before. So my name is Ilan. I have had the absolute honor and pleasure of working behind the scenes in video editing for some of the great educational FGC contents that you've seen. I've worked with James Chen on the First Attack series. I've worked with Flo on the Flowchart series. I've been video editing cross-counter training videos for the past year, and I've also edited cross-counter Asia videos. I have recently also been editing the Reads with Scar and Toph and Tasty Jams, the recipe. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of my presentation here, I do want to thank Gfinity for sponsoring this ridiculous collaboration that we've been having, and this has been a lot of fun, both to edit and to participate in. Just want to let you know they're having an Elite Series that's running for 9 weeks. It's tournaments that are running for 9 weeks starting on the 7th of July. It's taking place in the UK, and they're having tournaments for Street Fighter V, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, and Rocket League. Now, they've drafted 48 of the most talented amateur players in the UK and are throwing them right into the fire of the professional esports world. So I do wish them good luck. It's going to be a great tournament, and I want to talk about something that has plagued me and a few other people as far as the competitive scene goes. I want to talk about nerves. Nerves can hinder anything you do when you are at a tournament. You can be the greatest player in the world, and when you get caught up on nerves, you can go 0-2 or lose immediately, just like everybody else, right? So I've devised a few ways of which we can approach nerves. I've listed them out here in this little presentation, so I hope you enjoy it. So first of all, what are tournament nerves? I'm talking about when you sit down to play at a tournament, your hands start shaking, you don't necessarily know what to do, you don't play as well as when you're in your pajamas in your room, and everything goes to absolute hell, and you don't do as well when you go home upset. That's what I consider tournament nerves. So what are some of the causes of tournament nerves? These might seem a little obvious, but I have separated them into external influences and internal influences. Right, so first, let's start with the external influences all the way over there on the left. First and foremost, these are very common sense. The venue, we're talking about the temperature of the room, your playing space, like how the setups are, and we're talking about the noise of the venue itself. There are a lot of things that can really distract you from your game plan, which will make your game, or make your brain go into overdrive and ultimately give you all those nerves. Secondly, is the game itself, is how the setup is laid out for you. It's obviously not the same when you're at home. The peripherals, are your controllers working? Is there anything else that feels foreign, that is making you nervous? And last but not least, your opponent. That is the single greatest cause of the external influences of nerves. Is your opponent. You are uncertain of what's going to happen, and that's where the biggest catalyst of nerves are. It's that uncertainty of what's about to happen or what to expect. Next, let's go over to the influences, and I've split these into controllable and non-controllable, and these are all things that go on in your brain. Right, we're talking about your mental state from a logical perspective under the controllable there, and we're talking about your thought process. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking negatively? Are you thinking positively? Are you focused? Right, there are a lot of things here and there that can tear your focus away from the game. We're talking about your physical condition, right? How do you feel physically that day? And last but not least, your schedule. When did you wake up? Did you eat? Things like that are definitely a giant catalyst to nerves as well. And last but not least, the most difficult to understand, in my opinion, are the non-controllable influences on your nerves. I'm talking about your chemical mental state. And by that I mean your emotions, the adrenaline rush of the competition, and lastly, the physical condition. And I mean that from what's the weather outside and how is it affecting your body, right? Things that you can't necessarily control. So those are, in my opinion, the biggest catalyst of nerves when you travel to a tournament, right? It's the unfamiliarity. It's the unfamiliar situation, right? You're not at home. You're in a place that's foreign that you probably don't go to all that much. It's one day out of however many days you've played the game, right? So it all hinges down to that one day, and there's a lot of pressure. So I've come up with a few ways and a few techniques that will help you mitigate those nerves. At least they've helped me. Hopefully they will get you at least started on the right path. So here are the mitigation techniques that I've used. First, for external influences, we're just talking about comfort, right? We want to make this unfamiliar, uncomfortable situation as comfortable as possible so we can focus on the game. First, it starts with your attire, your personal attire. There are a lot of people that wear a lot of trinkets, that wear a lot of extra things on their body when they go to tournaments, right? We see bandanas, we see hats, we see jewelry, anything like that that helps you make the unfamiliar familiar. The personal space. I think the biggest example of this was final round of last year. I was playing my match, and Ricky Ortiz refused to start hers until I moved my chair, right? So don't be afraid to make that space yours. Ask people to move. Don't be afraid to, don't be afraid to make yourself comfortable. And last but not least, the physical prep. Do you do anything at home before you play? Things like that, just to get you on the right mental state. Next, your peripherals. Is everything working properly? How are your controllers? Anything that you need to check so that if something is off, you can fix it so it doesn't throw off your game while you're playing. Next is rituals, right? What do I mean by rituals? I'm simply talking about building a set of habits before you play so that you can familiarize yourself with the situation a little better, or at least your brain centers itself, right? We see this a lot with the pro players, right? We see a lot of people that go straight to their phone. We see people like doing things with their buttons, doing things with their mouse, just checking, making sure everything is working, that they do every day, again, to make that unfamiliar situation familiar. Next, let's move on to the internal influences. First, controllable. Scheduling. This is pretty logical, right? What time are you waking up? Are you eating? What do you need to do before you get to the venue and start playing? And that is something that you just have to do on your own. You have to figure this out before the tournament. Don't come in hungover, late, already knocked into the lower half of the pools, on the loser side of pools, because you forgot to wake up on time. Things like that. Preparation. How prepared are you? Did you look up your opponent? Did you study your opponent? Did you study your game? How do you feel in that regard? And once again, develop mental rituals. These rituals seem like they're a little silly, but again, once you get these checklists of things that you do, even if you do them on stage or off stage, will make all of these situations where you usually get nervous very familiar. I think the greatest example that I can think of was Taquito, right? Taquito has a lot of these great quirks, which we find hilarious or we find super interesting, but help him center his brain and get to work, right? I actually have a slide here from final round of this year, and this was top 8 winner, or top 8 on stage. Look at Taquito, he's just sitting there meditating. And earlier, Itazan was just banging out a tune on his stick, right? Anything like that that helps you center your brain, and makes these unfamiliar situations familiar to you will help mitigate those nerves. And last but not least, the non-controllable side, and these are, again, the toughest to comprehend. I'm talking about emotions, adrenaline, things that your body does automatically that you can't necessarily help. And what I've learned from being both a studying actor, a past classical musician, and somebody who just has dealt with nerves basically on everything, but is having trouble with the fighting game stuff, is meditation. Meditation is the perfect way to center your brain and put you in the here and now, because ultimately focus is the number one thing that's going to help mitigate your nerves. So I have something written down there. It's A and B. It's alternate nostril breathing. Check that. Give that a look. Check that out. It's a technique that actors and athletes use to do exactly that. It helps connect your brain, or it helps you connect the left side and the right side of your brain so that you can focus on the here and now. It puts you in that survivalist mode where you can't think about your emotion, or you don't necessarily think about your emotions, or you're not thinking about what you had for dinner. It puts you in the here and now. Kind of like, I know this is a weird analogy, but if you've ever been in a situation where things may have turned slightly life or death, I'm talking about how everything slows down and you're absolutely super hyper focused because your brain thinks you're in danger, right? That's what I mean. That sort of meditation with alternate nostril breathing puts you in that situation without actually putting yourself in harm's way, and helps you hyper focus into what you're about to do. And it's a great exercise, and it's been, as a side effect, it's also been shown to extend lifespan, so give that a shot. And again, rituals, making the unfamiliar situation familiar will help 100% of the time. It's one of those things where it helps make you feel as if you're at home playing online, or if you're at home playing with your friends, instead of being at a tournament where things are at super high stakes, where you paid thousands of dollars to be somewhere and you don't want to go home salty, right? Those rituals will help you calm down and help you put in the place where you're at peace with what's about to happen, right? So that's about it. That's what I have. These may or may not work for you. I suggest, if you are like me and you deal with tournament nerves a lot, give these a try. They have helped me quite a bit, but I'm still a long ways away from being comfortable in a tournament setting. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I want to thank Gfinity once again for the giant support in sponsoring this Gfinity series with the Cross Counter Training Crew. They're having the Gfinity Elite Series, where they've gathered 48 of the most talented amateur players, put them through a draft for 6 esports team in the UK. And we're talking Team Excel, Team Reason, Prophecy, Infused, NVUS, and Team Endpoint. So these are big hitters in the esports world, and I'm super stoked that we have amateur players getting the opportunity to dive into the world of professional gaming. And their tournament's going to be on July 7th, and it's going to feature Street Fighter V, CSGO, Counter-Strike Go, and Rocket League. So all of these games will definitely make people nervous playing them, and some of these techniques, I hope, help you guys out while you're in this high pressure situation for the tournament. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. My name is Ilan, and I will catch you guys next time. Goodbye!